Hello, my name is Chris. I am a high-level Kaiser in Reboot, and I'd like to try to explain Kaiser itself. Like, everything. Lore, skills, and maybe some of the meta. If you're interested in possibly checking out Kaiser as a potential main, I hope this video series will be a big help. Just know that I'll be narrating this in November 2019. There are some big changes coming to Kaiser, so I'll be trying to keep these future changes in mind as I describe some skills in an attempt to be up to date. Enough of the pre-show though, let's see what Kaiser's all about. For the Nova, Kaiser is not a singular person, but a concept. The Kaiser is an extremely strong being, leading the Nova forces against evil and protecting the royal family, typically against Darmor and the High Flora. Throughout their history, there have been a multitude of Kaisers, at least over nearly 30, each with their own preferred weapon types, ranging from two-handed swords, spears and shields, bows and arrows, and explosive two-handed maces. Some have even been known to go without a weapon, presumably being in a time of peace, or they were skilled in the art of close-quarters combat. Interestingly, there was one notable Kaiser that had a soul shooter, an ancient relic that fuses itself onto the user's arm and allows them to fire energy projectiles. When a Kaiser dies from either natural causes or in battle, the Kaiser will reincarnate in a Nova child born some time after their passing. As stated by Fennel, the High Priest of the Nova, Kaiser's destiny depends on the time period into which they're born. The burden of being a Kaiser during peacetime pales in comparison to times of war. Each Kaiser has the ability to go from a traditional Nova state and transform into the Kaiser state via the use of the Transformation Sigil, allowing them to fully access their power. As a trade-off, they become a looming figure over even the tallest of Novas. However, it's difficult to maintain the Kaiser form for very long, and they revert back to the Nova state after a period of time. So, now that we know the basics, what happened to the previous Kaiser decades before you came along? Cartalion burst into the Great Temple, announcing that Aboris, the capital of the Verdant Flora, has fallen. The previous Kaiser deducts that Darmor had finally made his push against the Verdant Flora, and are coming for Helisium next. Fennel, the High Priestess, asks if there's any potential allies in this war. A few are suggested, but the previous Kaiser shrugs them off, stating that he was to head to Helisium alone to prepare defenses against Darmor's forces. Once he gets to Helisium, he finds his close friend, Magnus, nearly collapsed on a bridge. The previous Kaiser remarks that the shield of Helisium should have held up. The only way Darmor's forces could have broken in if a traitor were to lower the defenses. That traitor, unfortunately, was Magnus. Infuriated, the Kaiser prepares to finish off the exiled knight once and for all after showing his true colors to the Nova. However, Magnus had a few aces up his sleeve. His sword was coated in poison, sapping the previous Kaiser's strength and life away as he found himself surrounded by his army of specters. Not willing to give up, the previous Kaiser transforms into his Kaiser state and gives one last charge against Magnus. He tears through the specters in his way and eventually makes his way to Magnus. Clashing swords before both warriors make a final strike, resulting in Magnus losing half a horn and gaining a scar in his eye, where the previous Kaiser was weakened to the point of collapse. he realizes that he has no other choice than to unleash his final attack, planting the Kaiserium into the ground, delivering an attack so powerful that it vaporizes the advancing Spectre forces, as well as sacrificing the previous Kaiser himself. At the end of it all, the only thing withstanding the attack was the Kaiserium and Magnus. Decades later, 3 Nova children are seen playing in Pantheon: Veldaroth, Tyr, and Kyle. This is you. After confronting the nefarious priests from tampering with the relics, Kyle awakens as the new Kaiser after Tyr accidentally touches the relic and collapses, protecting her until they retreat. He awakens in the infirmary of the Great Temple in front of Fennel and Cortalion, and is informed that he is Kaiser reincarnated. Afterward, Kyle and the High Priestess discuss what it means to be Kaiser and what the previous Kaiser did for his people. Understanding of his destiny, he sets off out of the temple to begin training so he can live up to the glory of Kaiser. Congrats! You have now begun your journey. 2 things that are important to your enjoyment of the class, though. This is the Dragon Link. The Dragon Link is one of the main gimmicks of this class. The idea is to use the basic attack along with this skill, and other special key inputs to gain bonuses, such as more damage on a certain attack along with other special effects. While Fennel might encourage the use of this Dragon Link system, do yourself a favor and don't listen to her. It's quite unresponsive to inputs and unreliable to the point where it would be easier to simply bind the skills to your keyboard, foregoing the extra damage for constant, reliable DPS. The morph gauge is a small UI on your screen that will always be there for you. It'd be a good idea to move it somewhere that's convenient. Anyway, the gauge is linked to the Transfiguration skill, giving bonuses at set levels. In the case of First Job, you will have an attack speed bonus, a knockback resistance bonus, a running speed bonus, and a jumping bonus when it's a solid green gradient. As you progress, you'll unlock more levels that come with their own bonuses. Now that that's out of the way, let's discuss the rest of Kaiser's basic kit. Attacker and Defender mode are 2 skills that give either an attack boost or a defense boost. Personally, I think you'll just want to stick with Attacker mode for most of the time, until you start utilizing Final Form more often in 4th Job. This is Kaiser's Link skill. Previously, it used to just give additional HP. However, it now gives Kaiser a damage increase based on the level of the morph gauge, along with giving a bit less HP. You will get this skill when you get to level 70. The skill gets to level 2 when you hit 120, and presumably the level will be level 3 when you get to level 210. Assuming Iron Will has a level 3 because this was totally recorded in November 2019 and we don't know right now. This is an extremely useful skill for mobility. The only other class that has this skill is Angelic Buster, who is another Nova class. Place this skill on a key that's easy to reach and easy to use in a quick situation, because you'll definitely be using it frequently. Also, ladders and ropes won't mean a thing to you, outside of a few certain cases. This teleports you back to Pantheon. It's very useful if you happen to find yourself in a place that you can't easily get out of. Just know that there is a 10-minute cooldown for this skill, so if you need to use it, make sure it's worth it. Basics are cool and all, but let's see what Kaiser can immediately do on the battlefield. Kaiser's bread and butter attack, so much so that it literally replaces your standard swinging attack. There are 3 swings to this combo and you can repeatedly mash it. It's a fun little fireball skill that hits up to 6 enemies at once. Don't expect to use it forever, because you'll be getting way better attacks as you progress. This is the second part of Kaiser's mobility, which can be used in tandem with vertical grapple. The difference is that Kaiser can use this skill in final form, where he can't use vertical grapple. You can quickly get around once you learn the rhythm. This is a passive skill that increases your defense and knockback resistance. This skill also stacks with Transfiguration's knockback resistance effects. At max level, you'll get it at plus 200 def and 40% knockback resistance. I think it's a good idea to stop here for this episode. Join me next time as we discuss plot points for when Kyle reaches second job and the skills that come with it. A big thank you to PirateIzzy for helping me isolate the Kaiser statues and to get the Great Temple interior without the NPCs.